Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, staring at the massive alien vessel that had appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system 3 days ago. The ship was enormous, easily 10 times the size of humanity's largest battlecruiser, its dark metal hull gleaming with strange patterns that seemed to shift and pulse with their own light. Still no response to our communications. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. His voice carried the tension that everyone on the bridge felt. Sarah nodded grimly. The alien ship had been broadcasting the same message in perfect English for 72 hours straight. It was simple, direct, and terrifying. "Humans of Earth, your species has been deemed unworthy of continued existence. You have 48 hours to surrender your planet. Resistance will result in total annihilation." The message had sent shockwaves through Earth's governments. Panic spread across the globe as people realized that humanity was facing its first real alien contact, and it was hostile. Emergency sessions were called in every major capital. Military forces were mobilized, though everyone knew that Earth's defenses were primitive compared to technology that could cross interstellar space. "Captain, we're receiving another transmission from Earth Command," announced Communications Officer Martinez. "Put it through," Sarah ordered. Admiral Harrison's weathered face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Sarah could see the chaos of the command center, with officers rushing back and forth, their faces grim with determination and fear. "Captain Chen, I won't sugarcoat this situation. Every military analyst we have says we don't stand a chance against that thing. Our best missiles couldn't even scratch its hull, and our energy weapons are like throwing rocks at a mountain." Sarah felt her jaw tighten. "What are your orders, sir?" "The World Council is considering surrender. They believe it might save some human lives. Allow our species to survive as servants or slaves rather than face extinction." "And what do you believe, Admiral?" Harrison was quiet for a long moment. "I believe that some things are worth dying for. Freedom is one of them. But the decision isn't mine to make." Sarah looked around her bridge. Her crew of 37 men and women represented the best of humanity's space force. They had trained for years to defend Earth, though none of them had ever imagined facing something like this. "Permission to speak freely, sir?" "Granted. I don't care what their fancy ship can do. I don't care how advanced their technology is. They came to our home and threatened our families. They want us to bow down and surrender everything we've built, everything we are. I say we show them what humans do when someone threatens our home." The bridge erupted in quiet agreement. Every officer nodded, their faces set with determination. These were people who had volunteered to serve in space, knowing they might never see Earth again. They understood sacrifice. Admiral Harrison smiled grimly. "I was hoping you'd say that. The truth is, we're not as helpless as they think. Our scientists have been working around the clock since that ship arrived. We've detected something interesting about their vessel." A technical diagram appeared on the screen. "Their ship is massive, but our scans show it's mostly empty space. They're using some kind of gravity manipulation for propulsion, which creates a unique energy signature. Dr. Reeves thinks she's found a weakness." Sarah leaned forward. "What kind of weakness?" "Their gravity drive creates a feedback loop every 4 hours and 23 minutes. For exactly 37 seconds, their shields drop to almost nothing, while the system recalibrates. It's a tiny window, but it might be enough." "Enough for what, sir?" "Enough for one ship to get close and do some real damage. The Defiance is our fastest vessel, and you're our best pilot. If anyone can thread that needle, it's you." Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. "What about the rest of the fleet?" "They'll provide distraction, draw fire, make it look like a conventional assault. But the real mission will be yours. We're loading every nuclear warhead we can spare onto your ship. If you can get close enough during that shield window, you might be able to cripple their main systems." The plan was desperate, probably suicidal, but it was a chance. Sarah looked at her crew again. They were all watching her, waiting for her decision. She thought about Earth, about the billions of people looking up at the stars and hoping someone would stand between them and annihilation. "We'll do it, Admiral. Send us those warheads and the technical specifications." "How long do we have?" "The surrender deadline is in 18 hours. We attack in 16. That gives you 2 hours to prepare and get into position." As the transmission ended, Sarah turned to address her crew. The bridge was completely silent except for the quiet hum of the ship's systems. "You all heard the plan. I won't lie to you. This is probably a one-way trip. Anyone who wants to transfer to another ship Has 15 minutes to pack their gear. No judgment, no questions asked. She waited. Nobody moved. Chief Engineer Rodriguez spoke up from the back. Captain, my daughter is in college in New Mexico. She wants to be a teacher, help kids learn about the universe. I'll be damned if I let some alien bastards take away her future. My son just learned to walk, added Lieutenant Parker. I want him to grow up free. One by one, every member of the crew spoke up. They talked about their families, their dreams, their reasons for fighting. Some were scared, that was obvious, but none of them were backing down. Sarah felt a surge of pride that brought tears to her eyes. This was humanity at its best. Faced with impossible odds, they chose to fight rather than surrender. They chose hope over despair, courage over safety. All right then, she said, her voice steady and strong. Let's show these aliens what humans are made of. Let's make them regret the day they decided to threaten Earth. The crew cheered, a sound of defiance that echoed through the ship. Outside, the alien vessel continued its slow approach toward Earth, unaware that humanity was about to demonstrate why their species had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and every other catastrophe that had tried to destroy them. The battle for Earth was about to begin. 16 hours before the alien deadline, the human fleet moved into attack formation. Sarah watched from the Defiance's bridge as dozens of Earth's warships spread across space, their running lights twinkling like angry stars. It was every functional military vessel humanity possessed, from massive battle cruisers to nimble fighters. Against the alien dreadnought, they looked like toys. All ships report ready, Captain, Lieutenant Torres announced. Sarah activated the fleet-wide communication channel. This is Captain Chen of the UES Defiance. Today we face an enemy that believes humans are weak, that will surrender our freedom to save our lives. They're about to learn how wrong they are. She paused, looking at the alien ship growing larger on the view screen. Some of you have families waiting at home. Some of you have dreams you haven't fulfilled yet. I understand if you're scared. I'm scared too. But fear doesn't make us weak. It makes us human. And humans fight hardest when everything they love is threatened. Across the fleet, crews listened to her words. In the battlecruiser Armstrong, Commander Williams gripped his command chair tighter. On the destroyer Courage, Captain Martinez whispered a prayer in Spanish. Fighter pilots checked their weapons one final time, knowing their small ships were flying coffins against such a massive enemy. Remember the plan? Sarah continued. You draw their fire, make them focus on the main fleet. Keep them busy for exactly 4 hours and 23 minutes. I'll handle the rest. Good hunting, Defiance, came Admiral Harrison's voice from the flagship Endeavour. Give them hell. The alien ship seemed to notice the approaching human fleet. Its surface began to glow brighter, and massive weapon ports opened along its hull like the eyes of some ancient monster awakening from sleep. Sarah switched to her ship's internal communications. Engineering, how are those nuclear warheads looking? Chief Rodriguez's voice crackled through the speakers. All 47 warheads are armed and ready, Captain. We've also rigged the ship's reactor for overload, just in case. If we can't get close enough to deliver the nukes normally, we can always ram them and take out a section of their hull. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Chief, honestly, Captain, either way works for me. My ex-wife always said I was too stubborn to die easy. Despite the tension, Sarah smiled. Rodriguez had a gift for finding humor in the darkest situations. It was one of the reasons she'd requested him for her crew. The alien ship suddenly came alive with weapons fire. Massive beams of energy lanced out toward the human fleet, each shot powerful enough to vaporize a city block. The first salvo missed as the human ship scattered, their pilots throwing their vessels into wild, evasive maneuvers. Fleet is engaging, Captain, reported Lieutenant Parker. The Madrid and the Tokyo are making attack runs on their port side. Sarah watched as the two destroyers swooped toward the alien vessel like angry hornets. Their missiles struck the enemy's shields in brilliant explosions that lit up space, but the alien ship seemed completely unaffected. Return fire caught the Madrid, and Sarah watched in horror as the destroyer simply disappeared in a ball of superheated plasma. Madrid is gone, Torres announced quietly. No survivors. That was 23 brave souls, Sarah realized. 23 people who had volunteered to die for Earth. She pushed down her grief and focused on the mission. Their sacrifice would mean nothing if she failed. Defiance, this is Endeavour. Admiral Harrison's voice came through. We're beginning our main assault. Stay back until the shield window opens. The entire human fleet converged on the alien ship like a swarm of metal insects. Energy beams and missiles filled space as humanity threw everything it had at the massive vessel. The alien returned fire methodically, each shot destroying or crippling another human ship. Sarah watched the Tokyo explode as an energy beam cut it in half. The fighter squadron from the Armstrong was wiped out in seconds by some kind of particle weapon. The battlecruiser Invincible lived up to its name for almost 5 minutes before a direct hit breached its reactor and turned it into a miniature sun. "They're slaughtering us," whispered Lieutenant Martinez. "No," Sarah said firmly. "They're making the same mistake every bully makes. They think superior firepower means they've already won. But look at the tactical display." Her crew studied their screens. Despite the horrific losses, the human fleet was accomplishing its mission. The alien ship was rotating slowly, bringing different weapon arrays to bear on the scattered human vessels. Its attention was completely focused on the main battle. 4 hours and 15 minutes, announced Torres. Shield window in 8 minutes. Sarah felt her heart rate increase. This was it. Everything depended on the next few minutes. Engineering, prepare for maximum burn. Weapons, arm all nuclear warheads for proximity detonation. Captain, Parker said nervously, if we detonate all our nukes at close range, the radiation alone will kill us instantly. I know, Sarah replied calmly, but if we succeed, Earth lives. That's worth any price. Her crew exchanged glances, but no one objected. They had known from the beginning this was a suicide mission. What mattered was making it count. 6 minutes to shield window, Torres announced. Fleet casualties at 60%. Sarah watched as more human ships died, their crews fighting to the last second. The destroyer Phoenix managed to ram one of the alien weapon ports before exploding. The cruiser Wellington kept firing even as its hull was torn apart by energy beams. 3 minutes. Bringing us around to attack vector. Sarah gripped her command chair as the Defiance accelerated toward the alien ship. They were still outside the enemy's notice, hidden among the debris and energy signatures of the massive battle raging around the dreadnought. 1 minute to shield window. All systems green. The alien ship seemed even more massive up close. Its hull stretched away in all directions, covered with strange symbols and weapon ports that glowed with deadly energy. Sarah could see human ships dying against its shields like moths against a flame. 30 seconds. Beginning final approach. 20 seconds. Nuclear warheads armed and ready. 10 seconds. May God forgive us for what we're about to do. Sarah watched the countdown timer reach 0. According to Dr. Reeves's calculations, the alien shields were now at their weakest point. For exactly 37 seconds, they had a chance. "Shields are down," shouted Torres. "Window is open." "Full power to engines," Sarah commanded. "Take us in." The Defiance shot forward like a bullet, accelerating directly toward the alien hull. Alarms began blaring as the enemy ship detected their approach, but it was too late. They were already too close for the massive weapons to target them effectively. 20 seconds left in the window. "Deploying nuclear warheads," announced the weapons officer. 47 nuclear missiles streaked away from the Defiance, each one aimed at a different section of the alien hull. Sarah held her breath as the first warhead reached its target. The explosion was beyond anything they had imagined. The first nuclear warhead detonated against the alien hull like a miniature sun being born. The explosion tore through the ship's weakened shields and bit deep into the strange metal, sending waves of superheated plasma across its surface. Before the aliens could react, 46 more warheads found their targets. "Direct hits across their primary systems," shouted Lieutenant Parker, his voice barely audible over the alarms blaring throughout the Defiance. "We're reading massive internal explosions." Sarah watched in amazement as sections of the alien ship began to buckle and collapse. Atmosphere vented from dozens of breaches, creating glittering clouds of frozen gas around the massive vessel. Secondary explosions rippled along its hull as their nuclear strike triggered cascading failures in the alien systems. "Their main power grid is fluctuating," reported Torres. "Some of their weapon ports have gone dark." But the alien ship was far from finished. Even damaged, it was still the most powerful vessel any human had ever seen. Its remaining weapons began targeting the Defiance with deadly precision. Evasive maneuvers, Sarah commanded as energy beams sliced through space around them. "Get us clear of their firing range." Chief Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom from engineering. "Captain, we took some radiation exposure from our own nuclear detonations. Hull integrity is holding, but our engines are running at only 60% power." Sarah's heart sank. At 60% power, they couldn't outrun the alien weapons. But as she watched the tactical display, she realized something incredible was happening. The remaining human fleet was no longer running from the alien ship. They were attacking with renewed fury. "This is Admiral Harrison to all ships," came the transmission. "The Defiance has proven these bastards can bleed. Now let's finish what they started." The surviving human vessels converged on the damaged alien ship like wolves sensing a wounded prey. The battlecruiser Endeavour led the charge, its massive railguns hammering the breached sections of alien hull. Fighters swarmed through the gaps, firing missiles directly into the ship's interior. "My God," whispered Martinez, staring at the view screen. "We actually hurt them." Sarah felt a surge of hope. The alien ship was still fighting back, but its movements were sluggish now. Several of its main weapon arrays had been destroyed, and she could see internal fires burning through the holes their nuclear strike had created. "Captain," Torres announced, "we're receiving a transmission. It's from the alien ship. Put it through." The view screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at an alien face. The creature was tall and thin, with pale gray skin and large black eyes that seemed to contain no emotion at all. When it spoke, its voice was cold and mechanical. "Humans, your resistance was unexpected. We underestimated your willingness to sacrifice yourselves for others. This will not happen again." Sarah stepped forward, her jaw set with determination. "You're damn right it won't happen again. Because the next time someone threatens Earth, we'll be ready for them." The alien tilted its head slightly. "You misunderstand. We are not retreating. We are calling for reinforcements. 3 more ships of our fleet are already en route to your system. They will arrive within your planetary rotation cycle." Sarah felt her blood run cold. 3 more ships like this one? Even damaged, the alien vessel was still fighting off the entire human fleet. 3 fresh ships would annihilate everything. "Your species showed courage today," the alien continued. "In recognition of this, we offer you a final opportunity. Surrender now, and we will preserve 10 million of your kind as specimens. Refuse, and we will ensure that no trace of humanity survives our next assault." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Around them, the battle continued as human ships poured fire into the damaged alien vessel. But Sarah knew it was futile. They had scored a victory, but it might be their last. "Captain," Lieutenant Parker said quietly, "what are your orders?" Sarah looked around at her crew. They were battered, exhausted, and terrified, but they were still at their posts, still fighting. These people had already proven they would rather die than surrender their freedom. "Lieutenant Torres, open a channel to all remaining fleet vessels." "Channel open, Captain." Sarah took a deep breath. "This is Captain Chen. I know you all heard what that alien said. 3 more ships are coming, and we can barely handle this one. Our situation looks hopeless." She paused, watching the faces of her crew. They were listening to every word. "But I want to remind you all of something. 24 hours ago, everyone said we couldn't hurt that ship. They said our weapons were useless, our technology was primitive, our cause was hopeless. And you know what? They were wrong. On ships throughout the fleet, crews stopped what they were doing to listen. Fighter pilots in their cockpits, engineers in their reactor rooms, gunners at their weapons stations, all of them heard her words. We proved today that superior technology doesn't guarantee victory. We proved that courage and determination can overcome any odds. We proved that humans don't bow down to bullies, no matter how big they are or how scary their threats." The alien ship fired another volley, destroying 2 more human fighters, but the fleet kept pressing their attack. "So here's what we're going to do. We're going to destroy this ship completely. We're going to study its wreckage and learn everything we can about their technology. And when those 3 reinforcement ships arrive, we're going to be ready for them." "Captain," Torres said softly, "how can we possibly be ready in just 24 hours? Sarah smiled grimly. "The same way we got ready for this fight. We're going to do the impossible, because that's what humans do. We're going to turn their own technology against them." She switched to engineering communications. "Chief Rodriguez, I need you to prepare boarding parties. We're going inside that ship." "Boarding parties?" Rodriguez sounded shocked. "Captain, that thing is still shooting at us." "Not for much longer. Look at your damage assessments. That ship is dying. Its hull is breached in dozens of places. Its power systems are failing. And its crew is probably dealing with fires and radiation leaks throughout their vessel." Sarah studied the tactical display showing the alien ship's condition. Internal explosions were still occurring as their nuclear strike continued to cause cascading damage. "We're going to board that ship. Capture whatever technology we can." and learn how to build weapons that can stop the reinforcements. It's our only chance. That's completely insane, muttered Parker. Yes, it is, Sarah agreed. But sanity never saved anyone from extinction. Prepare the boarding shuttles. We're going alien hunting. As her crew scrambled to prepare for the most dangerous mission in human history, Sarah looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 3 more alien ships were racing toward Earth, confident that they would finish what their advanced scout had started. They were about to learn that humans were full of unpleasant surprises. The boarding shuttle approached the alien ship through a maze of floating debris and twisted metal. Sarah peered through the shuttle's viewport at the massive breach their nuclear strike had torn in the enemy hull. The hole was easily large enough for their small craft to fly through, leading into the dark interior of the alien vessel. Atmosphere readings inside the breach show breathable air, but high radiation levels, reported Sergeant Kim, the leader of their 12-person boarding team. Our suits should protect us for about 2 hours before the exposure becomes dangerous. Sarah nodded grimly. 2 hours to explore an alien ship, capture their technology, and somehow find a way to defend Earth against 3 more vessels just like this one. It seemed impossible, but then again, so had damaging this ship in the first place. Remember, she told the boarding team as their shuttle entered the alien vessel, we're not here to fight. We're here to learn. Avoid contact with any surviving crew if possible. Our mission is to reach their computer systems and download everything we can about their technology. The shuttle landed in what appeared to be a cargo bay. The walls were made of the same strange metal as the ship's exterior, covered with those shifting patterns that seemed to pulse with their own light. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows throughout the space, and Sarah could hear the distant sound of alarms echoing through the ship's corridors. Stay close and watch each other's backs, Sergeant Kim ordered as the team disembarked. According to our scans, the main computer core should be about half a kilometer toward the ship's center. They moved through corridors that seemed designed for beings much taller than humans. The ceiling stretched high above their heads, and everything had an alien geometry that made Sarah feel disoriented. The walls seemed to curve in ways that didn't quite make sense, and the lighting created optical illusions that made distances hard to judge. "Captain," whispered Corporal Johnson, "are you seeing this?" Sarah looked where he was pointing and gasped. Through a transparent section of wall, she could see the ship's interior stretching away into the distance. It was like looking into a vast cathedral made of metal and light. Massive columns supported structures that defied human engineering, and she could see what looked like parks or gardens growing in artificial environments. This ship isn't just a warship, she realized. It's a city. There could be thousands of aliens living in here. They continued through the corridors, following the directions from their technical scans. The ship seemed largely automated with very few alien crew members visible. When they did encounter aliens, the beings seemed focused on damage control, working frantically to repair systems and contain fires. There, Sergeant Kim pointed ahead. That should be the computer core. They approached a massive chamber filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with data streams. The technology was completely unlike anything human scientists had ever imagined. Instead of traditional computers, the aliens seemed to use some kind of living crystal matrix that processed information through light patterns. "How are we supposed to interface with this?" asked Technician Williams, staring at the alien systems in confusion. Sarah studied the crystal formations. They were beautiful, like frozen lightning captured in translucent stone. But how could they possibly download information from something so alien? "Captain," came Lieutenant Torres's voice through her communicator, "we're monitoring increased activity from the alien fleet reinforcements. They've accelerated their approach. Estimated arrival time is now 18 hours. 18 hours. Sarah felt the weight of humanity's survival pressing down on her shoulders. They needed to crack this alien technology, and they needed to do it fast. "Williams, try connecting your portable interface unit to those crystal nodes," she ordered. "Maybe we can establish some kind of data link." As Williams worked, Sarah explored the rest of the computer chamber. The crystals were connected by threads of light that seemed to carry information at incredible speeds. She watched patterns of light race through the network, beautiful and incomprehensible. "Captain, I'm getting something," Williams called out excitedly. "The interface is working, but the data format is completely alien. It's like trying to read a language made of mathematics and music. Can you download it anyway? I can copy the data patterns, but understanding what they mean will take time we don't have." Sarah thought quickly. They needed more than just raw data. They needed someone who could interpret it, someone who understood how this technology worked. Sergeant Kim, we need to capture one of their technicians, someone who can explain how these systems operate. Kim nodded and signaled to his team. They spread out through the computer chamber, looking for alien crew members. It didn't take long to find one. The alien was tall and thin like the one they had seen on the view screen, but this one wore what appeared to be a technician's uniform. It was working frantically at one of the crystal interfaces, apparently trying to restore damaged systems. Carefully, Sarah whispered, as Kim's team surrounded the alien. We need it alive and cooperative. The alien looked up as the humans approached, its large black eyes showing what might have been surprise or fear. It spoke in its own language, a series of musical tones that sounded almost like singing. It's trying to communicate, Williams observed. The universal translator in our suits is picking up basic concepts. I think it's asking what we want. Sarah stepped forward slowly, keeping her hands visible and non-threatening. We want to understand your technology. We want to know how to defend our world. The alien's head tilted slightly and it spoke again. This time the translator managed to convert some of its words. You damaged. Great ship. Impossible. Your species. Primitive. Not as primitive as you thought, Sarah replied. And we're fast learners. Help us understand your systems and we promise you won't be harmed. The alien stared at her for a long moment, then looked at the crystal computer systems around them. When it spoke again, its tone seemed different, almost respectful. You showed courage, unexpected, perhaps misunderstanding. Sarah felt a spark of hope. Misunderstanding? What do you mean? Your species evaluated incorrectly, believed you weak, cowardly, but you fight, even facing certain death. This is worthy trait. If you think we're worthy, why are 3 more ships coming to destroy us? The alien's expression grew sad. Orders, already given. Fleet command, does not know of your courage, cannot recall ships. They will complete mission. Sarah's heart sank, but then the alien continued speaking. But perhaps, if you survive, if you prove strength again, judgment could be reconsidered. How can we survive against 3 ships when we barely damaged one? The alien looked at the damaged crystal systems around them, then back at Sarah. Your nuclear weapons, crude but effective, but you used them wrong way, like trying to cut down tree with hammer. William stepped forward eagerly. What's the right way? The alien moved to one of the intact crystal interfaces and began manipulating the light patterns. Immediately, data began flowing across the display in ways that human technology could never achieve. Your weapons create disruption in quantum field, but you scatter energy wastefully. Focus disruption on specific frequency, and even great ship becomes vulnerable. Sarah watched in amazement as the alien demonstrated, showing them exactly how their nuclear weapons could be modified to exploit weaknesses in alien shield technology. It was like watching a master craftsman explain the secrets of his trade. Why are you helping us? She asked. The alien looked at her with those large black eyes. Because courage deserves chance to survive, and because perhaps both species could learn from each other. As the alien continued explaining their technology, Sarah felt something she hadn't experienced since this crisis began: genuine hope. They might actually have a chance to save Earth, but first they had to survive the next 18 hours. 14 hours remained until the alien reinforcements arrived, and Earth's orbital shipyards buzzed with frantic activity. Every available engineer, scientist, and technician worked around the clock to modify humanity's remaining nuclear arsenal according to the alien technician's specifications. Sarah stood in the main engineering bay of the Armstrong station, watching teams of workers strip apart nuclear warheads and rebuild them with components salvaged from the alien ship. The captured alien, who had introduced himself as HFY, worked alongside human scientists to explain the modifications needed. The quantum resonance frequency must be precise, HFY explained to Dr. Reeves, his translator converting his musical language into English. Even small deviation will make weapon ineffective against our shield matrix. Dr. Reeves nodded, sweat beading on her forehead as she calibrated the delicate instruments. I understand the theory, but our manufacturing tolerances aren't as precise as your technology. We're working with equipment designed for much cruder applications. Then we must compensate with quantity, Kethvar replied. Many imprecise weapons can achieve what few precise ones cannot. Sarah admired the alien's dedication to helping them. When she had asked him why he was betraying his own species, Kethvar had given her an answer that surprised her. Not betrayal. Survival. My people have conquered 17 species. All surrendered immediately when faced with our power. We learned nothing from them, gained nothing except more territory, but humans. Humans fight even when victory is impossible. This trait, very valuable. Worth preserving. Admiral Harrison approached, his face grim with exhaustion. Captain Chen, we've managed to modify 43 nuclear warheads according to the alien specifications. It's every bomb we have left. Will it be enough? Sarah asked. According to Kethvar's calculations, yes, but only if we can deliver them during the shield vulnerability window. Problem is, the 3 incoming ships won't make the same mistake their advanced scout did. They'll be expecting our tactics. Sarah nodded. The element of surprise was gone. The reinforcement fleet would arrive prepared for human resistance, their shields constantly rotating frequencies to prevent the kind of coordinated strike that had damaged the first ship. What about our fleet strength? Harrison's expression darkened. We lost 60% of our ships in the first battle. What's left are mostly damaged vessels held together with spare parts and determination, against 3 fresh enemy ships. He didn't need to finish the sentence. Kethvar approached them, his tall form moving with graceful precision. Captain Chen, I have studied your tactical data. The reinforcement fleet will use standard formation. 3 ships arranged in triangle pattern, mutual defensive coverage. Any weaknesses in that formation? Yes, but exploiting them would require. Kethvar paused as if searching for the right words. Extreme courage, willing sacrifice of many vessels to create opening for decisive strike. Sarah felt her heart sink. More sacrifice, more brave people dying to protect Earth. But what choice did they have? Show me, she said simply. Kethvar activated a holographic display showing the expected alien formation. The 3 massive ships formed a triangle with overlapping shield coverage, their weapons arranged to provide mutual support. Here. Kethvar pointed to a spot in the center of the formation. If human fleet could force ships to focus inward, create concentration of defensive fire, it would drain their power systems rapidly. But to accomplish this, we'd have to fly directly into the center of their formation, Sarah finished. Into a crossfire from all 3 ships. Yes, survival probability for attacking vessels. Effectively 0. Admiral Harrison studied the display. How many ships would we need to sacrifice to create this opportunity? All remaining fleet, except 1. Kethvar replied sadly. Only single vessel could survive to deliver decisive strike during moment of weakness. The engineering bay fell silent, except for the sound of technicians working on the modified warheads. Sarah looked around at the human workers, many of whom had been laboring without rest since the first battle. These people had families, dreams, futures they wanted to protect. There has to be another way, she said. Perhaps there is, Kethvar said quietly, but it would require trust between our species. Significant trust. What do you mean? Kethvar gestured toward the damaged alien ship visible through the station's windows. My vessel carries emergency beacon. If activated, it could transmit message to approaching fleet. Message explaining what happened here. Sarah felt a spark of hope. You could tell them about the courage humans showed, convince them to reconsider their attack? Not possible. Fleet commanders follow orders precisely, but beacon could transmit different message. False distress signal claiming this ship successfully destroyed human resistance. If fleet believes threat eliminated, they would drop defensive formations, become vulnerable. Admiral Harrison stepped forward. You're talking about deceiving your own fleet. That's treason. Kethvar's large eyes focused on Harrison. My people believe strength comes only from superior technology, but I have seen humans fight impossible odds and succeed. I have seen humans sacrifice themselves for others without hesitation. This is different kind of strength. Stronger. He turned to Sarah. Your species deserves chance to grow, to explore, to teach others about courage. But decision is yours. Do you trust alien who 3 days ago came to destroy your world? Sarah looked into Kethvar's alien features and tried to read the emotion there. Could she trust this being? Everything depended on her answer. If we do this, and you're deceiving us, humanity dies, she said slowly. Yes, Kethvar acknowledged. But if we don't do this, humanity dies anyway. Also yes, Sarah made her decision. Do it. Send the false signal. Kethvar nodded and moved to a communication console. His long fingers danced over controls as he composed the deception that might save Earth. As he worked, Sarah noticed something she hadn't seen before. The alien's hands were shaking slightly. Are you afraid? She asked. Kethvar paused in his work. Yes. If my deception is discovered, my people will consider me greatest traitor in their history. But? He looked at Sarah directly. Fear of what others think is smaller than fear of destroying something beautiful. As the false message transmitted toward the approaching fleet, Sarah felt the weight of humanity's future in the balance. Either they had just found salvation through an unlikely alliance, or they had doomed themselves by trusting an enemy. In 12 hours, they would know which. But for now, they prepared for the most important battle in human history, trusting an alien who had chosen courage over loyalty and hope over certainty. The 3 alien ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system, exactly when predicted. Sarah watched them on the Defiance's view screen, her heart racing as she waited to see if Kethvar's deception had worked. They're maintaining standard approach formation, reported Lieutenant Torres. Shields are up, but weapon systems appear to be in standby mode. Sarah allowed herself a moment of hope. If the aliens believed the false distress signal, they would think Earth's resistance had been crushed and the threat eliminated. They wouldn't be expecting another fight. Signal from the lead alien vessel, Torres announced. They're requesting status update from their advanced scout. Sarah looked at Kethvar, who stood at an auxiliary console they had set up for him. The alien's tall form was perfectly still, but she could see tension in his posture. Send confirmation signal, Kethvar said quietly. Tell them human fleet destroyed planet ready for occupation. His fingers moved over the alien controls, transmitting lies that felt like poison to speak. Sarah watched the approaching ships, holding her breath as they waited for a response. They're acknowledging the signal, Torres reported. And they're dropping to patrol formation. Shields are still up, but they've reduced power to minimal levels. Admiral Harrison's voice came through the communication system from the flagship Endeavour. All ships, this is it. The enemy believes we're defeated. Let's show them how wrong they are. The remaining human fleet, 37 battered vessels carrying every modified nuclear warhead Earth possessed, began their approach. They moved slowly, carefully, trying to look like debris or disabled ships rather than an attacking force. Remember, Sarah broadcast to the fleet, we get one chance at this. Wait for the alien shields to cycle, then hit them with everything we have simultaneously. No second chances, no do-overs, she turned to Kethvar. How long do we have before they realize something is wrong? Minutes only, the alien replied. When they scan your planet and find cities still intact, they will know truth. But by then it will be too late, Sarah finished grimly. The human fleet crept closer to the alien formation. The 3 massive ships hung in space like sleeping giants, their hulls gleaming with that strange shifting light. Each one was as large as the vessel they had barely managed to damage in the first battle. 5 minutes to optimal strike position, reported the weapons officer. Sarah watched the countdown timer, her hands gripping the command chair tightly. Around her, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, each person focused on their role in what might be humanity's last desperate gambit. Captain, Torres said suddenly, we're receiving a transmission from the lead alien ship. They want to speak with Kethvar directly. Sarah's blood turned to ice. If the alien commander suspected something, put it through, Kethvar said calmly. The view screen flickered, showing an alien similar to Kethvar but with different markings on its uniform. When it spoke, its tone was suspicious. Kethvar, your report lacks detail. Describe human resistance capabilities. Kethvar straightened, his voice steady as he replied. Humans used primitive nuclear weapons against shield matrix, caused minor damage before weapons were neutralized. Species showed unexpected determination but lacked technology to pose real threat. Unexpected determination. Yes, Commander. Humans fought even when defeat was certain. Unusual trait for primitive species. The alien commanders seemed to consider this. Interesting. We will study surviving specimens to understand this behavior. Continue monitoring. Fleet will begin planetary occupation procedures. The transmission ended, and Sarah released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Kethvar had managed to satisfy his commander's suspicions while actually telling the truth about human determination. 2 minutes to strike. Position, announced the weapons officer. Sarah activated the fleet communication channel. All ships prepare for final approach. Remember what we're fighting for. Remember who we're protecting. Today we show the universe that humanity doesn't bow down to anyone. Across the fleet, crews made their final preparations. In the engine rooms, engineers pushed their reactors to maximum output. In the weapons bays, technicians armed the modified nuclear warheads that represented Earth's last hope. In the bridges, captains said silent prayers for their crews and their world. 1 minute to optimal position. Alien shield rotation cycle beginning. Sarah watched the tactical display as the enemy shields fluctuated through their vulnerability window. Just as Dr. Reeves had calculated, the 3 ships' defensive systems synchronized briefly every few minutes, creating a moment when all 3 vessels were simultaneously vulnerable. 30 seconds. All weapons armed and ready. 20 seconds. Fleet reports ready to engage. 10 seconds. Beginning final countdown. Sarah felt time slow down as she watched the seconds tick away. This was it. Everything humanity had ever built. Every dream they had ever dreamed. Every child who might someday reach for the stars. All of it depended on the next few moments. Shields are cycling now. Torres shouted. Window is open. All ships attack. Sarah commanded. The human fleet exploded into action. 37 ships accelerated toward the alien formation, their modified nuclear warheads streaking through space like angry stars. The aliens, caught completely off guard, scrambled to raise their defenses, but it was too late. The first wave of nuclear warheads struck all 3 alien ships simultaneously. Unlike the conventional weapons used in the first battle, these modified bombs created cascading quantum disruptions that tore through the alien shield matrix like paper. Explosions rippled across the massive hulls as the aliens' own defensive systems turned against them. Direct hits on all 3 targets, shouted the weapons officer, reading massive system failures across their entire fleet. Sarah watched in amazement as the alien ships, these seemingly invincible titans, began to tear themselves apart. Their own power systems, disrupted by the quantum resonance weapons, created feedback loops that destroyed them from within. This is Admiral Harrison to all ships. We did it! The alien fleet is finished! Cheers erupted across the bridge of the Defiance and throughout the human fleet. Sarah felt tears of relief streaming down her cheeks as she watched the last alien ship succumb to cascading system failures, but their celebration was interrupted by Kethvar's quiet voice. Captain Chen, I must inform you. The destruction of this fleet will bring more ships, many more. My people will not ignore such a defeat. Sarah turned to look at the alien who had helped save her species. How long do we have? Years, perhaps. Time enough for your species to prepare to grow stronger. And Kethvar paused, his large eyes meeting hers. Time enough for me to send message to my people. True message about human courage, about what I have learned here. Will they listen? Some will. Perhaps enough to change how my people see yours. Your species has potential for greatness, Captain Chen. Given time, humans could become something remarkable among the stars. Sarah looked out at the debris of the alien fleet, then at the blue marble of Earth hanging in space. Humanity had survived its first test among the stars, but she knew it wouldn't be their last. Thank you, Kethvar, for everything. The alien nodded solemnly. Thank you for showing me that courage is stronger than technology, that honor is more valuable than victory. Perhaps our peoples can learn from each other. As the human fleet began rescue operations and salvage of alien technology, Sarah allowed herself to hope. They had won this battle through courage, determination, and an unlikely alliance. But more than that, they had proven that humanity deserved its place among the stars. The universe was vast and full of dangers, but humans had shown they were ready to face whatever came next. Together, they would reach for the stars and claim their destiny among the cosmos. Earth was safe. Humanity would endure, and somewhere among the stars, the legend of human courage was just beginning to spread.